There's a version of retirement where you never sell a single investment. You just live off the income they pay you, the dividends, and the pot itself stays whole, passing on to whoever you choose. No drawing down, no watching the balance shrink, no fear of running out. The question is simply, how big does that pot need to be? Today, the real UK numbers for a lean life, a moderate one, and a comfortable one. Plain English. Start with the one formula that runs everything. The pot you need equals the income you want divided by the yield it pays. That's it. If you want 20,000 a year and your investments yield 5%, you need 20,000 divided by 5%, £400,000. Change either number and the pot moves. Everything else today is just plugging real figures into that. So let's do the 3 lifestyles using the pension industry's own UK benchmarks for a single person. A minimum lifestyle, covering the essentials, no car, the odd treat, is reckoned to be about £14,500 a year. At a 5% yield, that's a pot of around £290,000. A moderate lifestyle, a small car, a foreign holiday, more comfort, costs roughly £31,000 a year, which needs a pot of about £620,000. And a comfortable life, bigger holidays, more freedom, runs around £43,000 a year, calling for a pot of roughly £860,000. So, minimum 300 grand-ish. Moderate, 600. Comfortable, getting on for 900,000. Those are the honest, dividends-only numbers if you never want to touch your capital. Now here's the bit the scary headlines always leave out. And it shrinks those numbers a lot. The state pension. The full new state pension is worth around £12,500 a year, guaranteed, inflation-linked, for life. Once it kicks in, it does a huge chunk of the heavy lifting. Take that moderate 31,000 target, knock off the state pension, and your investments only need to cover the gap, around 18,500 a year. At 5%, that's a pot of about 370,000, not 620. The state pension just wiped £250,000 off your target. And if you're part of a couple, you get 2 state pensions, so the pot each of you needs is smaller again. But there's a catch with that, and it's about timing. The state pension doesn't start until your late 60s. So if you want to stop working at 50, you need your dividends to cover the full amount for those bridge years, then they only need to cover the gap once the state pension arrives. In practice, that means a slightly bigger pot to get you across the bridge, then a comfortable cushion afterwards. Plan for the gap, not just the destination. Let's talk yield, because it's a genuine trade-off. A higher yield means a smaller pot for the same income. Tempting. Push from 4% to 6%, and a moderate life pot drops sharply. But yield and safety pull against each other. The reliable FTSE and funds yield sits around 3.5% to 5% and grows over time. The eye-watering yields, 8, 10, 12%, usually carry a warning. The market is pricing in a cut. For an income you're going to live on for 30 years, a steady, growing 5% beats a fragile 12 every single time. You're buying reliability, not fireworks. Then there's tax, and this is where the ISA quietly wins the whole game. Dividends held outside a tax wrapper get taxed every year, and when you're living off them, that drag is permanent. Held inside a stocks and shares ISA, every penny of that income is tax-free, for life, so the long game is to move as much of your pot as you can into ISAs over the years, 20,000 of allowance at a time, so that when you finally live off the income, the taxman isn't taking a cut of your retirement every year. A pension does the same job for income after pension age, with tax relief on the way in. Wrappers aren't a detail here. They're the difference between needing a 600,000 pot and needing a far bigger one to net the same spendable income. You might have heard of the 4% rule, and it's worth being clear because it's a different thing. That rule is about selling a bit of your pot each year. Living off dividends is about not selling at all, just spending the income. The dividend approach is more resilient to crashes in one sense. In a downturn, your share prices fall, but solid companies often keep paying their dividends, so your income holds even when the headline value drops. The risk is dividend cuts in a severe recession, which again is exactly why you diversify across dozens of companies and sectors rather than leaning on a handful. So to recap, The pot you need is just your income divided by your yield. Dividends only, for a single person, that's roughly 300,000 for a minimum life, 600 for moderate, and approaching 900,000 for comfortable. The state pension can knock $250,000 off those once it starts, so your real early retirement target is the gap plus a bridge. Favor a steady, growing yield over a fragile high one, hold as much as you can in an ISA so the income is tax-free, and spread your money wide so no single cut can hurt you. Work out your number. It's almost certainly less frightening and more reachable than